how are you today? Let's get right to the tutorial for this baby blanket. It is made with using only one ball of Bernat Baby Sport Ombre. I'd love to have 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and let's get started. So I'm using a DKWay yarn and an H. Susan Bates crochet hook. I need to make a slip knot and chain 107 chains. So let's get the chains started. Chains are very easy to make. I will go off camera and make all 107 chains, and I will be back in a moment. Okay, I have made 107 chains. Now let's get started making the iris stitch, but first we need to execute a double crochet in the third chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3. Make that a double crochet. Now we will skip 3 chains and execute an iris stitch in the fourth chain. So skip 1, 2, 3, a double crochet. An iris stitch is 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets in that same stitch. Chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. Alright, this is very beginner friendly. You can see that little shell is just an iris stitch. It's 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Let's make the next iris stitch, and so it is skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochets in that fourth chain, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets. So the iris stitch. Let me make one more for you. Now, there you have 2 very nice looking iris stitches and a chain 2 and double crochet at the beginning. You continue this pattern all the way across. So you would skip 1, 2, 3, iris stitch, 1, 2, 3, iris stitch. So you will execute an iris stitch in every fourth stitch. So that iris stitch will be executed 25 times in total, and then when you get to the end of the chain, you will execute 1 double crochet right there. Let me push through to the end and show you how to do the end. So at the end will have 1 double crochet. There will be 3 chains between the double crochet and the iris stitch. 1, 2, 3. So let me put an iris stitch right here. All right, so an iris stitch right here, 2 double crochets. Chain 1, 2 double crochets, and a double crochet in that last stitch, or last chain rather. Now you can go into this chain in any manner that you wish. I like to go in to the outside loop. Alright, this is what the end will look like. And there are 3 chains between the iris stitch and the double crochet. Each edge will start out with a double crochet. Right there's the double crochet at the beginning, and now you have a double crochet at the end. So now we chain 2 and turn. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Now place a double crochet right in the top of the beginning double crochet. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Now This is where it gets really easy. And when you have something to hold on to, this pattern is so fast to make. So let's put an iris stitch right in that chain 1. Very simple. Now the next iris stitch gets an iris stitch in that chain 1. So I will do that with these 3 iris stitches that I have. All right, one last iris stitch. And again, I'm pushing through to the end and putting an iris stitch in that last stitch of the round. Now this last step, you have a chain 2 and a double crochet. I like to, you can put your last double crochet right here in the double crochet stitch, but I prefer going down in between the double crochet and pulling up a little bit of a longer loop right there and making your double crochet. You bypass the double crochet and go right down in that between the chain, turning chain and the double crochet, and that makes a smoother edge. Now this is where the repeat just gets so easy. Chain 2 and turn, double crochet in this first stitch, and then an iris stitch in the top of that iris stitch. And for the beginners, just let's go over that iris stitch one more time. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that's a double crochet. You execute 2 of those, and then a chain 1. Did you see the chain 1? 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Two double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and then we are at the end and we just put our hook down in between the double crochet and the chain space, yarn over first, pull up a little bit taller, make those loops a little longer, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you have a very nice edge. Results, the blanket is very easy. It's a 1-row repeat, so you will need 52 rows of iris stitches, and then we will move on to the border. Border is a Lacy Slanted Shell. You can execute 1 round of the border, or you can execute 2 rounds of the border. As you'll notice, there's 1 round here and 1 round here. I do love this Lacy Slanted Shell Border. Let's move on to the Lacy Slanted Shell Border. After you finish with your 52nd or 53rd row of iris stitches, you should have a blanket that is approximately 29 inches square or 30 inches square. What you need to do next is place markers every 10 inches. So 10 inches from the corner, place a marker, then place another marker 10 inches, then place another marker 10 inches away, and then go around the next corner and place markers, just as is in the photo. Now I have a sample of iris stitches. This is my mini blanket. And I'm going to show you how to execute the Lacy Shell Border. So at the last row, you chain 3. And you execute 2 double crochets at the base of this chain 3. That's not a double crochet, that's a double crochet. Just right in the base there. Now execute a second double crochet at that base. Now you have a bit of a shell. Now you just find you a spot 1/4 to 1/2 inch over and make a slip stitch, and that tips. That makes this shell tip over. So now chain 3, execute 2 double crochets right here where you executed that slip stitch. Now you tip it over. Just tip it over, and then right about where you tipped it over, insert your hook and slip stitch. And there you have 2 tipped shells. Now they're not lacy yet until you add a second row. I know I've been calling them lacy, but now we make a third tipped shell or slanted shell. 3, chain 3, and 2 double crochets right at the base of that chain 3. Now I had you put a marker in your blanket every 10 inches. You need approximately, you can fit approximately 11 to 12 slanted shells. If you can only get 10, that is fine, but here we're going to just hit this spot right here and slip stitch, chain 3, 2 double crochets. All right, let me get to this corner. I'll go off camera and get to the corner. Okay, I've executed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slanted shells, and I'm right about the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and make a slip stitch in this, right in the corner. Not really going into a stitch, you're just going into a spot. So I'm going to slip stitch, chain 3, and this stitch is so forgiving because it just goes right around the corner. 2 double crochets, now we're going across the bottom. You can place the stitch, slip stitch wherever you feel it needs to be, and there we just turned the corner. Doesn't that look nice? Chain 3, 2 double crochets, now tip it over. It looks like you're going to hit right about here every time, and maybe you won't hit right at this free loop every single time. Maybe you'll hit right here, and maybe you'll hit right there. The key is to evenly space out your 10 to 12 slanted shell stitches within that 10-inch area. All right, so let me finish all the way around and get back to the first slanted shell stitch, and I'll show you how to finish off if you want to just have one round of slanted shell stitches, and I'll also show you how to continue on and make a second round of slanted shells to make it lacy. I have executed slanted shells all the way around this whole little rectangle of iris stitches. I have one more slanted shell to make. Two double crochets. Now I'm going to slip stitch right at the base of this first slanted shell. There we go. Gives us one round of slanted shells. You can end off and weave in all of your ends, but if you're making a second round, we will slip stitch into the side of the chain 3 and then slip stitch into that third chain. All right, this will be where we put our slanted shell. It's a little bit fiddly. I don't want that to go into the double crochet. I want that to go into the chain, that third chain. We aren't going into the chain 3, we're going into the third chain. All right, this one's the hardest one because we have those slip stitches. All right, and there we have a slanted shell in the third chain of that beginning slanted shell. Now we execute a slip stitch in the third chain of the next slanted shell stitch, and that third chain is right there. Slip stitch, chain 3, and 2 double crochets right in that chain. Whoops, I got the double crochet. You got to make sure you get right in that chain space. All right, we have our first 2. Now let's hit the next one. 1, 2, that's the third chain. See, 1 chain, 2 chain, 3 chain. There's the third chain, so slip stitch, chain 3, and 2 double crochets. Now, the same thing, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, and execute a slanted shell stitch. We have 3 slanted shells. Let me get all the way around to the beginning and I'll show you how. Okay, I have executed the second round of slanted shells all the way around the border. Now I need to execute my last slanted shell and I'll show you how to end off. I'm at the last slanted shell, so I slip stitch in that third chain just as before, chain 3, double crochet twice, and then slip stitch right here at the base, right here somewhere in the base. Just get your hook down in there and slip stitch. And then end off and weave in your ends. And you can see the Lacy Slanted Shell Border. Isn't this a cute border? Let me pull the baby blanket back up here for you to see. So this is how the Lacy Slanted Shell Border looks. It's 2 rows. The second row is executed in the third chain, or just 1 row of the slanted shell border. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial on the Iris Stitch Blanket. I do want to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I hope you will help me to get there. If you haven't liked and subscribed, I hope that you will, and I hope you'll spread the word, and I hope you'll tell others about Krissy's Over the Mountain Crochet. It was good to have you. I hope you'll come again soon. Bye.